Sometimes justice arrives, just in time to say goodbye. Before this story begins, take a deep breath and remember, truth has a long memory, even when the world forgets. Some verdicts don't end in court. They echo through generations. If you believe in justice, equality, and stories that awaken the soul, click the link below and subscribe now to Wealth and Wounds so you never miss a truth untold. Medium skin tone hand pointing right https://youtube.com/wealth_wounds. Sub_confirmation equals 1. The year was 1984, in the small southern town of Ridgefield, where time seemed to crawl and justice moved slower than molasses. Inside a dimly lit courtroom, ceiling fans squeaked as they turned lazily. A man named Elias Porter, a humble schoolteacher and father of two, stood trembling beside his public defender. He wasn't a criminal. He wasn't even a suspect, until one night, a robbery gone wrong left a local store clerk dead, and Elias was found nearby, walking home after tutoring his students. But the truth didn't matter that day. The courtroom was full of whispers, not about evidence, but about color. He fits the description. That's what they all say. Elias' wife, Clara, clutched their daughter's small hand in the back row. Tears streamed down her face as the jury returned. We find the defendant guilty. The gavel struck. Elias collapsed. And with that sound, one man's future and one family's faith were shattered. Elias spent 30 years behind bars for a crime he didn't commit. Letters from Clara stopped after the first decade, not because she stopped loving him, but because she couldn't bear to see hope fade from his eyes. Their daughter, Monica Porter, grew up in silence. She was only 8 when her father was taken away. By 18, she left Ridgefield, determined never to look back. But life had a cruel sense of irony. Monica studied law, driven not by ambition, but by vengeance cloaked in justice. Every case she took was a silent war against the system that took her father. Still, in the shadows of her success, Elias aged in a cold cell, counting years, not days. Until one day, in 2015, a dusty box of old evidence was reopened under a state innocence review. Inside, they found something no one had cared to test back then, a bloody handkerchief that didn't match Elias' DNA. In the city of Atlanta lived Jalen Porter, Monica's teenage son. He never met his grandfather, only knew the man as a ghostly photo on his mother's desk. Jalen was everything his grandfather once dreamed of, bright, outspoken, and unafraid to question injustice. But that courage got him in trouble. One afternoon, walking home from basketball practice, a police cruiser slowed beside him. The officer said he fit the description of a suspect who had broken into a nearby shop. History repeated, like an echo of the past. Jalen's hands trembled as he raised them, his heart pounding like thunder. He hadn't done anything wrong, but the world saw only what it wanted to see. The music fades, slow piano, heavy strings. At the same moment Jalen was being handcuffed, miles away Monica received the news. Ms. Porter, your father's conviction is being overturned. He's finally free. Freedom and fear collided in one breath. If this story has already touched your heart, pause right now. Don't scroll. Don't forget. Subscribe to Wealth and Wounds, because these stories are not just entertainment, they're the truth so many never get to tell. Medium skin tone hand pointing right https://youtube.com/wealth_wounds. Sub_confirmation equals 1. When Elias Porter walked out of prison, the sun blinded him. The world had changed. Phones, screens, noise, everything moved too fast. Monica met him at the gates, tears running freely. She hugged him tightly, but Elias stood still, as if afraid she'd vanish. You grew up, he whispered. Because I had to, she replied. But beneath that reunion lay decades of pain, years lost that no apology could restore. Elias smiled for the cameras when reporters swarmed, but inside, guilt consumed him. He'd missed his children's lives, their birthdays, their graduations. He felt more like a ghost than a man. That night, as he sat in Monica's home, he stared at Jalen, the grandson he'd never known. And when Jalen said, "Grandpa, I was arrested today for something I didn't do," Elias' eyes filled with horror. History hadn't just haunted them, it had repeated itself. Determined to protect her son, Monica reopened her father's case file, tracing every lie, every missing document, every officer who'd signed off on false evidence. What she found shocked her. The same police department that framed Elias decades ago had covered up multiple cases. including recent ones involving young men like Jalen. The names matched. The tactics matched. The past wasn't history. It was a pattern. Monica confronted the retired detective who'd led the case. "Old and frail," he whispered. "We were told to make an example out of someone. Your father, he was convenient." Monica's rage turned to resolve. She filed for a civil rights lawsuit against the town of Ridgefield, reopening wounds buried under decades of silence. The legacy of one verdict had become a fight for generations. The new courtroom was brighter, bigger, modern, but the ghosts remained. Elias sat quietly behind his daughter, watching her stand where his lawyer once stood. Monica's voice was steady as she addressed the court. "This is not just about one man. It's about every name the system forgot, every family broken by lies." Jalen sat in the front row, tears in his eyes. For the first time, he saw his mother not just as a lawyer, but as a warrior. The defense tried to dismiss the case. They said it was too long ago. But the judge listened. The jury leaned forward. When the verdict came, the courtroom went silent. The town of Ridgefield is found liable for the wrongful conviction of Elias Porter. Cheers broke out. Elias smiled faintly, but his hand clutched his chest. He whispered, "I can rest now." He died that night. Peacefully. Free. Monica buried her father under the same oak tree where he used to teach her how to read. Jalen stood beside her, clutching a folded newspaper that read, "Justice, 31 years late." But Monica wasn't done. She started a foundation for wrongfully convicted families, the Porter Legacy Project, ensuring that no one else would be buried by lies. Years later, Jalen would grow up to lead it, and every time he spoke at schools, he'd say, "Justice delayed is pain passed down. Don't wait for history to repeat, change it." If this story broke your heart, let it remind you, truth will always find light, even if it takes a lifetime. Don't let stories like this fade. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wealth and Wounds, because silence never changed the world. Medium skin tone hand pointing right https://youtube.com@wealth_wounds. Sub_confirmation =1.